My name is Joel Ellis, and I'm going to be reading What Love Is by Sebastian Matthews. You could tell he was Marcella's brother, even sitting in the back. He had that muddy river lilt in his voice, the bristling intellect and the irresponsible need to teach the storied history of African American classical music. Jazz was in his blood as legacy. The funky butt was jammed, only this back table free. Whiskey's on the way. A Basie number, Monk. The band tight, the Feo's trombone aflame from the opening chorus. I even didn't mind the nearby tables were more chatter than rapt attention, or that our waitress took her time, for Del Feo was holding forth on the subject of cutting, that fraternal pissing contest where raw-boned skill and bravado run loose to fight for the night supremacy. When the trumpet got introduced, he looked over at Marsalis, a little reticent to step into the ring. Who could blame him? Delpheo was all over the bone. So low on the register your feet could feel it. So high he was bumping the night's rafters, and not just range. He donned all the hats in virtuosity in rapid succession, and swung like crazy too. The trumpeter was game, falling behind like a younger brother, tossing up the bellow's horn, blotting out wild roundhouse notes. But he was going down, and when he managed a high C and held it, he came from his waist. He'd been cut off at the legs. We nearly jumped out of our seats, like at some stellar cockfight. At the break, heading for the John, I spied a couple groping in the dark hall, the woman pushing the man up against the wall, kissing him hard, his hand cupping her ass. And when the waitress set down her drinks, her breast dropping like ripe peaches, a cowgirl tattoo dancing on her arm. I just burst into happiness, for being among friends, for loving my wife, who I knew was at home in front of the fire, dog asleep at her feet, and raised a silent toast to the night unfolding to soulful music, and to the graceful glance of good luck's passing. Later when Delpheus played the loveliest solo on You Don't Know What Love Is I ever heard, heroin slow, each note laid out like an early morning baker sets out of a rack of bread loaves. The place got church quiet, drinks clinking as we listened in on a one-way lover's plea into the grimy payphone of the blues. Before we left, the couple returned, the guy's shirt back basted, with bricks, dust, and sweat. I shook Marcel's hand on the way out, in that tentative way black and white do. Half soul shake, half how you do, and told him what I thought of his solo. He gave me a look I couldn't read, that I like to think registered surprise. What do I know? Out on the street, on the walk back to the hotel, past a broken bottle Congo Square, the four of us picked up our way through the drunk city, still bustling past midnight. Sidewalks slick from a street sweep of rain, jabbering about the prize fight of a set, and I tried to tell my friend something of the feeling that had taken hold of me, stumbling over the words like a greenhorn sitting in. He listened, rapt, happy, filling the last gap of my music with a huge whoop, and then, steps later, wow, wow, and we crashed over into canal, heads bent in reverie, for all the night had offered us up, and it's still, and it's swell. I chose this poem because it does not necessarily refer to loving a person. It talks about the love of music, being with friends and loved ones, and how being around those people or those things made life better or more worthwhile.